Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Movement. And some of you are wondering, why are you just filming a bunch of separate videos in just one day? One, it's just to have more content for you guys, but also, problem that I had, when I can't figure something out on a bike, I go to a video and usually it's like a 30-minute video. And I absolutely hate that because then I have to scroll through. So I felt like this would make it a little bit easier for you guys. And so what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna show you guys how to cut your stem, get all the barbs off of your stem after you cut it, and then install it onto your bike with your crown race, your star nut, and then also your stem, spacers, and all of that good stuff. Bear with me as we go through this process, and hopefully we'll have a good time. First things you want to do, take your fork out of packaging. You don't want to ride your bike with some packaging on it. Take your little housing button that goes right here. You can throw it to the side. You won't need that until later. And then the first thing you're going to install is your crown race. This is the Cane Creek crown race that came with the bike. Based on what you get, you'll need different things for different capabilities. But if you're just trying to go off of me, this works with what I have. All the grease, as I said before. Good to keep a shop rag. And you just kind of want to lay it down just as far as it will go, but you're not done yet. Little tool here. Lay it on the little edges of the crown race, and you want to point it up, you don't want to point it down. And so you'll hear it when it is laid completely down. Did you hear how it kind of changed tones? That's normally the sound it'll make when it is all the way down. Checking to make sure, yep, and then I'm making sure that, because I didn't put any of the little spacers on there, making sure I didn't rip anything, but that works. You just don't want grease to be sitting everywhere, things like that. I'm gonna take off this top layer. I just put a little bit of grease because this won't be the final laying of all your bearings, but I need to put in the bearings to measure the correct height for the fork, and then I'm going to lay down my largest bearing. Put this on. Put my Cane Creek. And I'm not worried about placing at the moment. I'm worried about just the spacing. Next, you want to, once the fork's in, you want to put this stem on. But first you want to put on the spacers. There's a specific way that I like to do the spacers, but I'm just going to throw them all on. So this right here is how tall I want it to be. I'm not going to add any more spacers. You might want to play with your spacer height. And while you're at this point, the trick is you can't add on to the fork. You can only take off. So if you're questioning how tall to cut it, I would always cut longer, and you can always take more off. I'm gonna take my and I'm gonna mark it. I just want to make it as large as I can so that I have the most view when I put in my cutting tool. If you have steady hands, you might be able to cut it without a cutting tool. I wouldn't recommend it, but this is where I want to cut it. But the thing is, you don't want to cut it right there. You want to cut it 2 millimeters shorter, because the thing is, you want it to sit right in this little area on your top cap. So now you want to reverse everything you just did. And I just take everything out because I will re-grease everything again. Now I'm going to put the cutting tool on. We do have a vise to do this on. I'd recommend doing it on a vise. I just am literally blind. Make sure it's tightened down. You don't want kind of an uneven or crooked cut. All right, time to see me sweat because I'm wearing very warm clothing. I always do like a little pre-cut, and I'm seeing that's I probably want to do just a little bit shorter. And if you cut it uneven, nothing wrong with that. I'd always recommend your first cut to be a little bit longer than usual, and then you can always cut again. before I even look at that, I'm gonna go stand outside for a little while. I'm still out of breath. Even it down. Try to avoid getting it on the fork. That looks good to me. Gonna throw my star nut in. Once you put your little star nut on, bada bing, bada bing. Hammer it in. And this is also one of the things where you will hear when it's in. Star nut is in. So this is where I emphasize the grease. This is where I see a lot of problems when people bring their bikes in. There's no grease, your bearings are old, there's a lot of rubbing. I just put as much grease as I possibly can. I want good movement in the ride. Put some grease on top of here. Bottom bearing on. Put this through. And I'm gonna lay this down. Placement here, I put the Lizard first, just because I think it's cool. Max puts the Cane Creek or the 40. It's preference. I think the Lizard's cool, so I just do it. And then you put your race face on. And then notice how I put 2 spacers. Did that. Thinking I might have this a little too, oh no, it's actually pretty perfect. Put my Yeti cycles on. I want it to be facing up, so when you read Yeti, put that in. And I just start to tighten it, because really the important part, this tightened, but I want to double check to make sure it's cut correctly. Good way to do this, trick of the trades that I've learned. Good way to check to make sure that you cut your stem correctly. Tighten it down, and you turn this. And if your spacers turn, when you turn it, you didn't do it correctly. Mine did not, because what can I say, I'm a professional. Now I'm gonna put on the handlebars. Actually, we're gonna save that for another video. That's it for our video. Hopefully that gave you some knowledge on what to do with your fork. Hopefully you'll be able to cut your own fork, and as we go through the process, hopefully you'll be able to put together a whole entire bike, which will be awesome, and that's one of the greatest achievements I've had. Talk to you guys soon. Check in on Friday for more cool videos. Check in on Tuesday for some decent videos. Yours truly, and then see you soon. Bye.